so casual anymore, latest trends in the casual games business. And it's going to be presented by Evan Spytma from PopCap. So my name is Shanil Dio from Halfbrick Studios. I just need to remind you that we'll have time for questions at the end of this session. So the session will probably go for about 40 minutes, and then we'll have 10 to 15 minutes for your questions. So I guess I'll give a little bit of a background on Evan. Evan leads PopCap's marketing department throughout all channels in the Asia Pacific region, which is a key market for the company as it expands its leadership role in producing hit casual games beyond the United States. Evan joined PopCap in early 2008 and has worked throughout Asia for 7 years. Evan holds an MBA in International Business Management from Thunderbird School of Global Management and a bachelor's degree in Global Business from Arizona State University. I guess I'll invite Evan up.
All of you could put the food down and actually come. I'm very happy about that. So hopefully you'll have energy enough to ask some questions during Q&A. So let me first start by saying, when I started to think about this presentation and what I wanted to accomplish, I started to look back at my career, and especially at PopCap, and look at some of the key learnings that I had there. And I was always curious why these things have not been transferred over into other gaming sections other than casual games. So I'd like to share these learnings with you, and I am in no way, shape, or form trying to convert you to casual games, but I'd just like to try to change your perspective on them. So with that, so what exactly is a casual game? I play some random quotes from the media. It's basically easy to learn, broad appeal, short play sessions, small developing budget, and simple controls. One of a much broader definition is actually anything not an MMORPG, and that actually isn't true because in many markets such as Korea and China, I would argue that the MMORPGs are actually quite casual. But if we look at some of these screenshots of our PopCap games and our competitor games, everyone here would most likely say, these are casual games. But what about these? Portal, Sims, Civ 4, Wii, Guitar Hero? Are they casual games or not? If we go back to our original definition of what is a casual game, look at Guitar Hero, for example. Easy to play, broad audience. The only, you could basically pick up the guitar, no tutorial, and you can clear the first stage without a problem. Wii Sports is the ultimate casual game because it's based on your own body movement. Simplest controls possible. So the underlying definition here, and this is why I actually placed this up here, is the point I wanted to make is the one element that's missing, the common denominator, these are all high budget titles. So the casual definition in itself is changing. 2 years ago, EA basically entered the casual game space, and then quickly, 2 years later, they're out of it. And now they say there's no such thing as a casual game space, or a casual game. There's only gamers and non-gamers. And I would argue that, well, PopCap makes games for non-gamers. So that would be my response to EA. So these are some of the key lessons that I'd like to go through today, and I'll touch on them more in depth later on. So casual games are in general very innovative. They have very innovative business models because they're not stuck in a box in some retail store. They're on multiple platforms, they have broad audience, and iterative development process, and very simple controls. So when I started to think about the business models and the evolution of the business models, it really came down to a time period of 1999 to 2007. And this is almost the golden era of business models. You can see from the very beginning, you have licensed games, and then try and buy, which PopCap is very famous for, and then mobile games, and subscription, and retail, and it just goes on and so forth. But since then, there hasn't been really much innovation. You have social networks, but that's about it. So there's two opinions here. One is, we've reached our peak of innovation, which I don't agree with at all. And the second one is, maybe the industry is just digesting all of this right now. And they just don't know how to target it to their audience yet. So that's something that I would agree with. So I'd like to go into these business models now a bit more in depth. The try and buy model is basically putting the game on your site. You download it, you have an hour-long or set time period on it. You're then offered, do you want to buy the game or not? If you do, it's yours forever. This is actually a very inefficient pricing model, because if you look to the right of this line, there's only 1% conversion rate. So you have 99% of the people that download your game, they're not going to purchase it after that 1 hour time period. So your average revenue per download is at 20 cents. From a marketing standpoint, this is very good, and it's also a very Darwinian model, because only the best games survive. And also one final point on this is actually the replayability we found is a key factor in whether or not they purchase the game. So, advertising model. We heard about it in the last presentation. It's a very cyclical industry. All indications turn to a downward trend. PopCap has experienced. We've been doing very well in Australia. We're very happy with the model. And basically you have your traditional banner, pre-roll, interstitial, post-roll. Now, we've tried this with download games, and we haven't been that successful with it, because it's hard to get the advertisers on board. And also the technology just isn't there yet. So if we dive into this, on the very bottom of this chart, you have every user basically contributing a very small percent of your revenue. And in the end, though, it also bumps your average revenue per download almost to 70 cents. Now, this is a bit of a disclaimer here. If this is assuming that you sell all your inventory at the highest CPM. So, and there's a growing trend, especially in Asia, that players feel that games should be free. So this is actually a pretty good model. You're not going to get rich on it, but it's a good way to supplement your revenue stream. Subscriptions. You pay a fixed fee every month for unlimited play. If we look here and we assume that each user typically downloads 1 game a year, it's actually quite profitable if you can lock them into a subscription, in this instance for $10 a month for 6 months. It's the equivalent of 3 games a year, and you quadruple your normal revenue.